In December 2001, a 33-year-old woman called Jignya Kiran Shah gave up the material world with all its conveniences and its ties of blood and love and obligation for the austere life of a Jain Sadhvi. I have grown up with tales of women and men renouncing the world in search of deeper truths or escape routes. Yet Jignya's story intrigues me. Perhaps because she's someone like me, an urban educated woman from a similar class and cultural background. I go to Ahmedabad to meet her.
My God, मुझे यहाँ रहना ही नहीं है। 3 तारीख और हम ट्रेन में आए, पूरी ट्रेन में इसलिए हम 7 जन थे। 7 दिन बस।
For over a week, the city has been rocked by communal killings. The violence will unbelievably continue for more than 3 months. What of my film and Jignya's story to do with the bestiality on the streets and in the minds of people? Must I bring it in? Can I afford not to? Jignya had an MBA degree and ran a business worth 8 crores. She spoke Gujarati, Hindi, English, Marathi, and had studied French, Russian, Sanskrit, Prakrit. She played the classical flute well enough to accompany Pandit Hari Prasad Chaurasia. She was talented, successful, adored by her family.
She was born in Pune. She was 7 months old. She started talking.
What were her first words?
She said drama. A servant over there in Pune is Rama.
This is the painting for which she got the award.
Oh, this is what she went to Russia for.
The girl has fallen down. She's crying, but the game has to go on. So, no, they had to draw it at home and send it. And when she was 9 years old, she did fast for 9 days. No vegetables, no milk, no dahi, no ghee, no tail. Some fast continuously for 14 years that way. That is to win over your taste.
She's the only one who looks happy. Everyone else looks really sad.
No one was coming.
Everyone is tired. मेरा तो उतरा 5 दिन से सोई नहीं थी।
No, nobody cried.
वो मैंगो को ऐसा कर देते ना, पूरा ऐसे हो गई थी फिर नीचे नवीन निश्चल की तरह पूरा।
I cried. I'll show you when I cried.
This time I cried, because it was difficult for Didi also to bless Mummy also. Mummy was ekdam ke, she was down.
I felt happy. She's on the right path.
When you're looking at those old photographs and all, they do get that impression that these days are gone.
When I first meet her, Jignya is staying with a group of 20 sadhvis in the house of a rich devotee. The rooms upstairs have been cleared of furniture and white sheets draped over the mirrors. It is a world and a time that are unlike anything I have known. The sadhvis are not permitted to use electricity or bathe. The necessities of my life are redundant in theirs. For my film, I'm allowed to use Jignya's words, though not her voice, and I'm not allowed to shoot with her at all. I must rely on other voices and other images.
After my uncle passed away, I was handling the business in both Ahmedabad and Pune. I was working round the clock and under a hell of a lot of stress. One day, I was driving to work with Sarlaben and we stopped at a red light. Suddenly, I felt I just couldn't carry on like this. When I voiced my thoughts to Sarlaben, she said, "Okay, let's drive into that big house over there." That is how I met Prashmita Shriji Maharaj Sahib, who was to become my guru. I really had no intentions of going again and again, but she asked me to come the following day and the next. By way of good manners, I could hardly refuse. Slowly, I began to open up my mind to her. The first thought of taking Diksha came 6 to 8 months later, but it was 8 years before I was really ready. It's been a very, very gradual journey.
I've seen her transition from a 100% businesswoman right till she took Diksha, and the transition has been phenomenal. She achieved so much in such a short span that it was extremely surprising. And then she ran out of goals on what to do.
And she added a lot of value to our, at least to my life. My purpose of living is now a lot different. In fact, there was no purpose of living earlier. It was just money.
She's a big exception in Jainism. Usually people have very little knowledge. They take Diksha and then they gain knowledge. In Jignya's case, it was completely opposite. She gained knowledge, she understood what Jainism was, and then she decided to go in for Diksha.
To gain knowledge, that became an obsession. I would spend hours reading about different philosophies and religions. I traveled to Pondicherry, Rishikesh and Varanasi. If anything else had appealed to me, I would have gone in that direction. Whatever is right is mine, not what is mine is right. I think it was Nietzsche who said, "If there is a God, how can I endure not being one?" I used to think of all the qualities a God must be having and aspire to having those myself. It is not as audacious as it sounds. In Jainism, we don't have a God like you do. A human being who has transcended the cycle of births and rebirths is Bhagwan. One who has conquered his inner enemies and in the process freed himself from karma.
When I'm with them, everything seems to be in perfect harmony. But at the same time outside, a war is raging. In fact, one night, a mob attacks the building opposite theirs. The convulsions in the city must surely affect Jignya, I think, and her whole philosophy of non-violence must seem under attack. Doesn't she feel the urge to react, to protest, to intervene? But she inhabits a different interior world.
At present, I am engaged in my own search. I am working to change myself from within. I don't feel I have answers for others, or the wisdom or authority to change the external world. As I transform my mind and heart and become stronger, I will be able to serve others.
Jignya's guru confesses that the only thing in the world she is afraid of is the violence of men. I wonder why I'm expecting more from these women than I would from myself. The Jain sects are headed by acharyas, men who are more high profile and powerful than the Sadhvis. I'm sent to this higher court of appeal, where permission to shoot is once again denied. I'm told my equipment runs on batteries which are charged by electricity. The consumption of all these energy particles implies a destruction of Jeev, or living beings. I think, but do not say, how far do you carry this? Would you refuse the help of life-saving machines if you are dying? We do consider recording a few things secretly, but dishonesty is not a real option. This situation poses a challenge to my craft that I may not welcome, but must embrace. I have to find ways of telling without showing, of showing without depicting. Jignya herself is curious about how I will represent certain ideas. Purity, for instance. Just looking out of the window does me good. If only it were possible to film like this. Just looking, not trying to prove anything. I remember my stay in Ahmedabad with Jignya and her group. The very first night we were all sleeping when a large cockroach decided to wander over me. It was past midnight, and at that time it would have been inappropriate to make a fuss. Sacrilegious, of course, to kill it. In any case, my slippers were outside the front door. In the semi-dark, I followed the cockroach's trail until it disappeared into a crack. On the following nights, I found I was less bothered by the prospect of another visitation, less prepared to use violence as a remedy.
That I should be the cause of dukh or fear in any living being is intolerable to me. Which is why the amount I eat, the amount I drink, I try to make it the most minimal that is possible. Sarlaben, my guru, and aunt, all are beginning to carry equal weight for me. It is extremely difficult and yet extremely joyful to live like this.
I reflect on how this non-violence at the heart of Jainism has ensured that its followers are mainly traders and businessmen. Agriculture and the crafts all involve injury to living beings. The armed forces are obviously ruled out, but the pursuit of profit is a safe, even worthy occupation. Many Jain families are like Jignyas, extremely wealthy. In Pune, I meet Kaka, her grandfather, with whom Jignya spent most of her growing years. It was he who groomed her in the 138-year-old family business, one of the oldest in the city.
Everybody was in favor, 1 against 1,000. How can you help it? I was helpless. Now, what is the only business house of the type where we have life insurance, then medical policy, then accident policy. That is what you see Jignya introduced here.
If she wants to leave, if Jignya were to want to leave and come back.
Not possible. They do come back, but as I know her, she won't come back. She will not complain also, even if she has anything, because she has thought over this for 3-4 years. It's only thing you see, because she is a woman, as you see male sadhus shine, and lot of tom-tom is there, she will not get that opportunity.
Did
Did you understand why Kaka was refusing to let her go?
Yeah. He was not wrong, I would say, in saying no. Because the Sadhu Sanstha and the Sadhvi Sanstha, whatever you call it, there are many things which are not supposed to be there, they are there. There is jealousy, there is politics, there is this, that. That's why he did not want her to go there. And it was not that he did not want her to attain the spiritual climax. Moksha, one has to attain that. But do it staying at home. And which I said, no, it's not possible.
Of course, I had several doubts and anxieties. Firstly, I was unsure about my physical endurance. Fasting, walking everywhere, surviving without electricity. And yes, it has been tough. Initially, what is uncomfortable is a disturbance. Later, comfort becomes a disturbance. The most important thing I have to remind myself is I'm not my body. My toe has been hurting for several days and I'm working at ignoring the pain. I've always wanted to be independent. I was running a business and was used to being my own boss. I was scared of having to function within the structure of a sect. I also wondered if I could live away from my family. But spiritually, I had no doubts whatsoever.
हमारे में इससे पहले के राजा हो तो सब दीक्षा लेते थे, कोई राजा घर मानने मरता था, टाइम हुआ बस निकल जाते थे, बच्चे लोग को राजा अभिषेक कर देते थे, अपन सन्यासी हो जाते थे। कितना भी किया तो घर में रह के धर्म नहीं हो सकता। अभी कुछ भी करेंगे ना अपन तो जिग्ना याद आती है कि उसने इतना होके छोड़ दिया, अपन क्या करते। और उसने सबको प्रेम से लिया, उसने दुख भी देखा ना सब। उसके पापा मर गए तभी वो छोटी थी, 7 साल की थी। फिर मेरा लड़का गया, बोले मामा पण ऐसे चले गए। और इधर भी रह ली थी वो, उसके पास भी, मामा के पास भी बहुत रही। संसार में है क्या के बोले, सुख कहाँ मिलेगा तुमको, खाली पीली संसार संसार करके क्या फायदा है। पाप में से सब निकल गए हो।
Jignya comes from a large, closely knit joint family. The Jain precepts and practices she grew up with were influences she shared in common with her siblings. Though in the intensity of her spiritual search, she was probably unique. When I meet them in Kaka's home, Jignya's cousins Alok and Sejal are nearing the end of a 14-month fast. They've been working and partying while eating only on alternate days. On other days, no food and no water.
We're getting into it slowly. The top that I'm doing, the fasting, is also a channel to it, to get to Diksha. It's difficult but not impossible. People think this is not the age to do this. It's probably in your later life. What I think now is, what if I don't live till then? I don't want to think that I never did anything. That's the reason we are doing it now.
The whole family has gathered under Kaka's roof to celebrate the successful completion of the fast.
I was not happy about it. She was very much a part of the family, and being the eldest sister, and she used to handle everything. Now many times I really feel scared when you can't decide what to do. It was always Didi, the first person you would think of it was Didi. Now many times I think, what about that? But I don't like to
call her Jin Pragnya Shriji and all, which makes me feel that she's no more my sister, but I don't want to feel it that way.
Six months have passed since Jignya took Diksha, and a ceremony is held to mark the occasion. Once again, I ask for permission to shoot. This time, I'm told that while the video camera is still prohibited, I may take stills. And so I begin with the first tentative, hesitant photographs. And then a strange thing begins to happen. Instead of her life unfolding, I find that the more I probe, the more I come face to face with myself. These last months have left their traces on me, and it is these patterns that I now confront. In the beginning, it was effortless. I turned vegetarian and it was simple enough. Of late, it's been growing more difficult. From time to time, I feel as if my understanding is hazy, as if I've not been able to see as clearly as Jignya may have wanted me to. I'm aware that my attempts to understand her involve digging deeper into myself, and this excavation can sometimes be painful. Meanwhile, Jignya has moved to Palitana, where she will stay through the Chaumasi or 4 months of monsoon. We take 3 hours by bus to reach our destination, a journey that took the Sadhvis 21 days, walking barefoot. When we arrive, Jignya is having her afternoon meal, screened from public view. But little Aniha is anxious to greet her aunt.
My ego is my biggest stumbling block. I've always liked getting attention, and if I don't, even now sometimes I can feel a bit low. Yesterday I was walking with another Sadhvi and she went ahead of me. Initially I was a bit upset that she wasn't concerned about me. Then I immediately checked myself. If you notice, although we spend almost 10 hours of the day studying the scriptures, we are a fairly jolly lot and not at all solemn. I'll be honest, I was prepared for the physical discomfort, but did not think that my mental preparation was so little. That is what has taken more effort. There are many areas of attachment I have to work on. I used to play the flute and loved classical music. The other day we went for a ceremony at someone's house and they were playing music that I found really noisy and cheap. When I remarked on it to my guru, she said, "What you like cannot always be what others like. Work on yourself so that externals do not disturb you." There are 18,000 qualities that a sadhu must aspire to. We are taught many do's and don'ts. While walking on the road, I have to fix my gaze at a distance of 3.5 feet and make sure I do not trample on anything, an insect or even something written. We do not talk, lest in our carelessness we cause injury. To step on anything is violence that I would have to atone for later in the day.
I made you hear my song, okay?
Satan! બોર્ડ ઉપર લગાડવાની પેન્સ લાય
બધી જઈને પણ બધી દુકાનો બંધ છે કે સ્ટેશનરી દુકાન અહીંયા ઘરે.
She was a friend to me and not, you see, my granddaughter or anything. Today in my house, I don't have anybody to weep on anybody's shoulder. But there was somebody, she used to converse on telephone, my problems, all that. And she used to, even at that age, knowing my temperament and all that, she used to guide me. You see that this is it, this is it. And in my house, she was the only person who, if I went out of control or anything, if these people, anybody complained, she would phone and tell me, Kaka, you should not have done this, or Kaka, you should not have done this. Now there is nobody. It is a personal big loss as far as I am concerned.
Before my Diksha, many people were constantly telling me, "You're sacrificing so much. You're leaving everything behind." I used to laugh. I'm sacrificing nothing. On the contrary, I'm gaining something. I really could not have lived in two worlds at the same time. In the material world, there are always outer stimulations and you can easily be misguided. In Diksha, you're breaking free of all this. I feel as if I'm on an express highway.
What expectations do you have of her?
Now she is her own master. Her guru is there to take care of her, not me. I have to just sit, relax and see her watching grow, and then I've got to follow her.
There are many who live it up and then give it up. Why then am I drawn so deeply to Jignya and her story? Perhaps because she's someone who, like me and very many others, sensed something wrong with our world, felt an emptiness at the very heart of things, and found, unlike most of us, an answer. It may not be the answer. It may not be the answer for me, but it does remind me that I too am a seeker, and that the journey lies not only without, but also within.